Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to April's edition of the career mapping session. Guys, I can't believe it's the fourth month. We started this in January and now we are in April. I'm very grateful to God and I'm very grateful to every one of you that has, been a part of it, people that have been attending from January, February, March. I can't believe we're in April, guys. Like, I'm so grateful. So today, and like as everyone joins in, I know like a lot of people still strolling and coming late, but I really want to like really emphasize the importance of the topic that we're dealing with today because I experienced something related to that, right? For example, your CV gets across and you're called up for like a job interview or the next stage in the job application. But then that particular stage involves like an aptitude test or a form of assessment, and you just discover that you're unable to scale through, and that's because not because you're not smart, not because you're not intelligent, but because you don't even know what it entails. You don't know about maybe to practice or even what you're supposed to go and see there. So most of the time, some people, actually like me, you might either be disoriented, you may either be at loss for words because you really don't know what to do. You have like so limited time. So today's topic is really going to uncover preparing for jobs because I feel like there's a whole aspect of job preparation that's not really talked about, one of which is preparing for biometrics and job assessments. A lot of people talk about CVs, interviews, and in betweens, but people don't necessarily if you're trying to get employed in a really reputable company, you have to consider the fact that there's high competition and people will need to be dropped. So the best way that companies know how to do that is by using job aptitude tests and other assessment tests. So today we have a very wonderful person in our midst. I say wonderful because I know her. She is one of the most brilliant people that I have met. Humble and very brilliant. So if you have received the email, you definitely know her. Her name is Damilola Ola. She works as a petroleum engineer at Elcrest, and she's also a certified project management professional. She has experiences, in the oil industry, oil and gas industry. I know that some of you here, I know you want to work in oil and gas. So some of you that you're going to listen to this after, I know that you want to work in oil and gas. So this is an opportunity for you to, learn more about the environment and also get her unique perspective on how you can prepare for jobs, and how you can place yourself or prepare yourself for these wonderful opportunities that are out there. Because I don't believe that opportunities are for limited people. I just believe that opportunities are for people who are well prepared. That's my belief. So yeah, that's everything that I have to say.
Do you want me to go now, or should we wait another few minutes for?
No, we're just trying to wet the
Okay.
ground because by the time you go, you just like dive into it, regardless of whether there are like a lot of people or not, because this session is recorded and it will be available for a lot of people to listen to. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Something about me. Let me see. Okay. Pretty much a very simple person. I like to travel. Um, I I don't like academics, which is surprising because a lot of people think I'm a bookworm or I'm a nerd, but I'm actually not. I'd rather not do something that involves a lot of like academics and a lot of brain work. What else about me? Pretty much that's it. I'm just a very simple person. Eunice, thank you for having me. I've been following Career Cafe for a while now and very grateful for it. So you share a lot of insights that are really useful, especially for graduates. Just thinking back, if I had this kind of like opportunity platform when I just got out of school, I feel like I would have been able to leverage more on when it came to like job applications, CV, and just more information out there. So I mean, kudos to you. You are doing a lot, and yeah, your what's it called now? Your a lot of value is coming out from what you're doing. So it's really nice. We are cheering you on.
Thank you. Thank
Well
you very much.
done.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, some housekeeping rules. Please, if you have any questions, just raise your hands up. Any questions that you're finding any questions that you're trying to ask, you can, just send them or like text them to me or put them like in the chat box. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Please, as you come into the call, make sure that you mute yourself so that when there's like a playback, we're not missing like key information of what the speaker is currently saying. So without further ado, as at 7:07, I present the floor to you, Danny. Please take over. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Eunice. Thank you to everyone else on the call. So I'll just be sharing a few tips when it being in the job market for the past 6 years right now, being in the labor market. So when it comes to like job applications and all. Like Eunice said, when you have your CV out of the way, you have a pretty good CV, and then the company feels like, okay, this is a good candidate. We feel like we can progress with to the next stage, and then the next stage involves an aptitude test. So the reason for aptitude tests, there are literally thousands of people who are applying for the same role, and especially in a country like Nigeria where opportunities are limited. I remember applying for a role one time, and the role involved 5 stages from submitting your CV. So I wrote 2 tests and did 3 interviews. So by the time I was getting to stage 4, the interview panel, they were like really pleased with those of us that got to that stage, because they were like, for that particular role, they had over 3,000 people apply for that one role, and they were going to hire only one person. So, and then of course, they have to cut it down. You're cutting down from 3,000 people to one person. So, definitely, you have to do some sort of tests, sometimes 2 tests, and then multiple interview phases before you finally are successful and all of that, so that's why some of these companies do like aptitude tests and all of that. So but what has really helped me when it comes to aptitude tests, because I have done a lot of aptitude tests for like um companies and all of that. I'm in the energy industry, so most of my experience has been in like writing aptitude tests for in the energy industry space. I have done a few in consulting and all of that. So for all of the aptitude tests I've written in for energy industries, I'm talking maybe Shell, Chevron, Total Energies, and all of that. I don't have issues passing the aptitude test. So I've passed, all of my aptitude tests in those areas. So the one aptitude test that I didn't do well on was on when I was this time I was applying to, is it McKinsey or BCG? That's in the consulting space. And then so I didn't scale through even the test phase. And that's because I didn't have enough information about what that sector entails. I didn't have enough people guiding me on what to do. Okay, so my belief is if you're going in for an aptitude test or a job test, you should have an idea of the questions that you will be seeing. So for anything I do in terms of writing tests, I don't go into it blindly. I always have an idea of what I'm going to expect. If I'm writing a test and I have no clue what is going to be asked, most likely I'm going to fail that test. Not because, okay, I'm not smart enough, but you need to prepare. And there are so many things that, the world is open ended. So you can be reading A and studying so much on A. Oh, I think this is what they are going to bring and all of that. And then on the day of the test, you see they bring Z. So of course you're going to fail, not because you're not smart or you have not studied, but you're just studying in the wrong direction. So getting information is very key. So for me, before I did like job tests, what I did was I went online. I did a lot of search on tests, and then people who have written like exams and all of that. So my first go to if I'm writing any test like for the energy industry, number one is Naira Land. So I remember when I was applying to Total Energies, this was 3 years ago. Yes. And then so I went back to Naira Land and I went to look for a thread where Total was employing people 5 years ago, the last recruitment exercise. So I literally slept on that thread because I was going page by page. I was reading what everybody was writing. And what I was able to find out was that some people would drop some links to some websites where you can see aptitude tests for Total. So, for instance, now off the top of my head, if you're doing a test for the energy industry, I can tell you what materials you need to study. So if you're doing a test for like Total Energies, you're going to be studying for like you're going to be looking online for Saville tests. There's this testing center called Saville. That's what Total was using as at least up until like 2 3 years ago. If you're doing a test for like a Chevron or an ExxonMobil, you know you're going to need Dragnet. If you're doing a test for Shell, Shell has their own they have their own custom like tailored what's it called testing method. But I mean, if you go on YouTube and then you search in like Shell graduate trainee test and then all of that, you will see something come up. And if you go on the Shell thread for the last recruitment, major recruitment that was done, you will see some guys putting some links in there on where you can get aptitude tests and all of that. So one of the links that really helped me, so there's this website called practice, let me just look for it. There's this website called practiceaptitudetests.com. I will just copy that and put it in the chat box. So this website, I found it as a really good resource. So they have tests tailored to energy industry, consulting, different industries, FMCG, and all of that. Graduate tests that companies have used in the past. So when it comes to studying for tests, I just know what to do. So for instance, if you're taking a test that it's on Dragnet platform, you go online and you look for Dragnet past questions and you find someone to say, I can assure you, if you are a graduate or you're just coming out of school, there is a huge possibility that someone in your network has, there's this 500-page Dragnet past question, this thing that you can just, prepare with and all of that. So that's why I said when you're going into a test, you don't go into a test blindsided, not having not prepared. No matter how smart you are, even if you graduated first class, I can assure you your chances of passing are really reduced because you are competing with people who are prepared. And these days, um, if you're applying for a job, there are group chats everywhere now on WhatsApp. So, for instance, the last NMPC recruitment that just happened, that they hired about 500 people. What happened was people started from the Naira Land thread and then they went to look for on the Naira Land thread. The last time an NPC recruited for 5 years ago. So if you have the patience to go back to that thread 5 years ago to read some of the exam questions that people put in there after like the exams, to put in people write their interview experiences and all of that, if you just have the patience to read that. But for this year, I don't think that thread was really bubbling because there was a group chat. There were quite a number of group chats, and on that group chat every day people were posting past questions, people were posting answers to the past questions. So if you want something, you have to be in that space. If you're applying to a job, look for a community, that same job you're applying for, like for popular companies, maybe KPMG, consulting, whatever. I can assure you, if there's a big recruitment going on, like a massive recruitment going on in that industry, there's most likely a WhatsApp group chat or an Ireland thread that, where people are talking and people are exchanging ideas, people are exchanging past questions and all of that. So even if you are bad at test taking, at least you have some time to prepare. You have some time to refine your skills. You have some time to know how the question will be sent. Will be done. So even if most of these aptitude tests, they test you on maths, English, abstract and all of that. But even the maths is different. So for instance, the way the maths is structured for like a total energies kind of question is totally different from the way the maths is structured for like a chevron kind of examination, even though they are both companies in the oil and gas industry, and they are still giving you maths and English at the end of the day. But the type of mathematics questions are extremely different. So it's just best to just get that resource. So another thing I like to talk about is so I have noticed that a lot of these tests, right? If so I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with maybe GRE or GMAT type questions, right? I've noticed that a lot of these aptitude tests, some of them take the format of GRE, GMAT test. So maybe if you have experience with taking the GRE test, these are tests that you take if you want to do like postgraduate studies, MBA or MSc or PhD outside of the country, most likely America, Canada, and few schools, maybe a lot of MBA schools require that you do GRE and all of that. So if you are also preparing for to take like a GRE test or a GMAT test, that kind of thing, it will also help you in your that knowledge you get will also help you in your preparation for like job tests. And even if you're not looking for a job and you're trying to see how to pass like the GRE exam and all of that, there are also resources. So there's this resource called Greg Matt. Let me put the name in the chat box. Greg Matt. So he has Greg Matt is like the hack for GRE, GMAT type test. So he's like a test prep is a test prep company. Basically, they have a whole website where you can do like questions, classes, their live classes. It's like going to school online to prepare for the GRE test, and they have very good pass rates, and I think it's really cheap. The last time I did it, I think it was $5 a month, but I want to believe the price should have gone up by now. But you shouldn't spend more than 3 months, on that platform. If it's a $30 you're going to invest in, passing the GRE or the GMAT test, I think it's that resource is the hack. If you know people who did very well on the GRE and have gone on to do like big things. I have a friend who used the that platform. He just finished his MBA at Yale. I know someone who also did his MBA at Harvard, and then I know a friend who got into Oxford MBA as well. And the three of them used Greg Maths to prepare, and they are not fantastic academic students. They are, two of them are lawyers, one is an engineer. So you can say, okay, the engineer has a good mathematics background, but the ones that are lawyers, typically lawyers don't really have a very good grasp of maths and all of that. But on that Greg Maths platform, they were able to do so well that they were able to get into big schools like Yale, Harvard, and all of that, and they are done now. So if you're looking to like write tests, GRE tests, GMAT test prep, please look at that. And then so I'll now be sharing some tips that have helped me personally when doing aptitude tests. I have a mathematics background in terms of I did engineering, so maths comes quite easy to me. So that's another thing, right? When you're writing this aptitude test, some people have an undue advantage already. So say you are writing and doing an aptitude test for whatever company you're going into, right? And then maybe you have an arts or a commercial background, or you're not too strong in mathematics. You're competing with people who are wizards in mathematics. So there is no excuse. You have to find a way to get an edge and show, just try to match up in one way or the other to make sure that at least you have that first foot in, after which you can now prove your worth and show them how much of a superstar you are. So one thing I found out writing aptitude tests for mathematics is that especially for Dragnet. So I know a lot of Nigerian companies use Dragnet to do like aptitude tests. So one of the things I've noticed with Dragnet is that when you are doing like a math type question, right? The first, say you have like 20 questions in the mathematics section, and they'll usually give you like 15 or 16 minutes to solve 20 maths questions without a calculator. Obviously, they are just trying to do it so that, as much people can drop as possible. So what you would notice is that the first few questions are usually pretty hard, and you can easily spend 10 minutes of your 15 minutes on the first three questions. Meanwhile, you are going to want 20. Okay. So, what Dragnet usually does is that the easy questions come towards the end. So, if you have 20 mathematics questions, when you get to maybe 16 to 20 are really cheap questions that you can do with your eyes closed. Like literally, they can ask you 5 plus 5, but question 1 to 5, you will see some graphs, you will see some charts that will just disorient you. You won't know what you are doing. They'll give you three graphs. You're only supposed to look at one to get your answer, but because you're so scared, you just started the test, there's tension, you cannot think well. You just, time will just go like that. So what I would usually do is start from the back, look for easy questions. First of all, just scan through anything that is easy that you can easily do with your hands. First things first, okay? Another thing I've noticed about Dragnet is that sometimes the questions may look complicated, but they're actually very easy, especially with the fact that you don't have a calculator, right? So sometimes they can give you like a lot of, just I'll just give an example. So they can ask you to add three numbers, right? So they can give you 5,200 plus 3,165 plus 1,500, 1,302 to add up. Right now, while you're trying to think of, oh, I need to add all these big numbers, what I'm even saying is even small, because when you go into those tests, they can give you really big numbers in millions to add up, right? And then you're, first of all, you are overwhelmed with that. You first have to start thinking, oh, how did we used to do addition when we were in primary school? You write all the numbers down, you want to start adding it manually and all of that. But that kind of question, right? The simple trick is that, the way they taught us addition in primary school, right? When you're adding up numbers, if you write all the numbers on the different lines, you start adding from the right hand side. So let's say you're adding, let me just give you very easy numbers now. Maybe 12 plus 5 plus 20. That's what 12 plus 5, 17 plus 20, um 37. Okay, so they will give you very big numbers, but the crux of the matter is, I mean, if you're adding that one, the first number, if you're starting from the left hand side, the first number you're going to have is 7, because you have 5 and 2 and 0. You're going to add 7, then you keep adding and all of that. So when they give you big numbers like that, or you don't need to add everything together. Just go to the last numbers, pick the last numbers of all those big numbers they give you, add them together. And what it gives you, that last number on the right hand side, just go into the options. Only one of the options we have 7 at the end. So you don't have to add up everything. So those are some of the little tricks that, all of these tests try to mess with your head. When you see a question, oh, it looks complicated, but it's very easy. The fact that they don't allow you to use a calculator means that there is a shortcut to every question. You just have to find what that shortcut is. Okay. So that's just one of many examples for treating mathematics. I'm not an English expert, so I won't speak on that. Typically, I've been very bad at English, but what helped me was there was a time I was preparing for GRE and on that Great Maths platform, and then there were a lot of tips I learned from, how to read comprehension, and then from reading the comprehension, you go into the answers, and then um you pick out answers based on what you've read. Don't try to add your own ideas to it and all of that. So, for instance, you can be reading a passage that talks about maybe let me see. Okay, maybe in that passage they're talking about maybe a woman that has three children, she has a husband, she has this, she has that. They try to make the stories something you can relate with. Now, when they ask you a question, you want to start answering from the mindset of, oh, my mother has three children. This is how would have my mother would have done it at home. But nobody's asking you for your personal experience. Your answer should be only based on what you saw in the comprehension. Okay. So maybe for instance, one of the children died in the passage, and from the hints they did an investigation, maybe the mother killed her own child. So in the option, they will say, okay, from the comprehension passage above, who most likely killed this child? Number one, the mother killed her child. Number two, the child died of natural cause. Number three, we don't know who killed the child. Because naturally, you are sympathetic towards mothers. Oh, a mother cannot kill her child. Maybe the answer is we don't know who killed the child. But there is obvious um this thing. There's obvious evidence in the comprehension that the mother killed her child, but because you want to use your own personal bias towards mothers and how you grew up, those things can blind your eyes. So stick to what is written. You get. So and other things like that. I sorry I might not be able to give so much, but practice makes perfect. Another thing I was really bad on is abstract with shapes and all of that. I was really bad on abstract. But you know what? I know that, I have a goal. I have to spend a lot of time working on abstract. The more I fail, the more I go into the correction, see where I didn't do it well. I mean, there was a time that I even had to go on YouTube to check how to do like all those abstract questions, how to check charts and all of that. So that when you go into the exam, you are prepared, you know what you are doing already. Okay, so there was one last thing I wanted to talk on in terms of like test prep and all of that. What else? What else? It's coming off. It's not coming to me right now. But if I remember it, I will talk about it. Okay, yeah, I remember. So there are some companies that when you apply to them, they also do a personality test. So after the mathematics, English, the normal academic test, they now do like a personality test where they ask you personal questions and they will give you five options ranging from I do not agree at all to I am neutral to I agree 100%. Okay, so how do you tackle those questions? It's a very easy trick that my friend gave to me. So, for instance, if you have 20 of those questions, okay, there are 20 questions where you have to pick either totally agree, neutral, or do not agree. Okay, in essence, those 20 questions, they are most likely at the end of the day only five questions. They are only asking you five things in those 20 questions, and they are asking you five things in different ways. So they will most likely ask you one question three or four times. They will just change the English. So, for instance, question number one, they can ask you, are you an extrovert? You will answer, yes, I agree, I'm an extrovert. When you get to question number five, they will ask you, do you like going out? Do you like going out is almost the same thing like, are you an extrovert? Question number five, do you like going out? Remember you said, yes, I'm an extrovert. They expect you to say, yes, I like going out. If you say, oh, I'm not sure, neutral, I don't like going out, or disagree, I don't like going out, it means that, this personality question, there is no right or wrong answer. If you're an introvert, fine. They just want to know who they are dealing with, right? If you're an introvert and you're an extrovert, there's no problem about that, but be consistent. So if you're an extrovert in question one, question five, you must be an extrovert. Question 10, they can now ask you, if we are planning an office party, would you most likely be on the list of those who are planning the party? Because you're an extrovert, because you like people, of course, you have to pick, yes, I totally agree. I will be part of the people that will plan an office party. Then question number 15, again, you will see another question that relates to, someone who is outspoken. If you are doing a presentation in your team, will you most likely be the one to present, or will you not present? Because you're an extrovert and you like people, you have to pick the option of yes, I agree that I will present. You get, if you don't want to, it's fine. If you are reserved, you answer all questions as though you are a reserved person. If you like adventures, you answer all questions as though you're an adventurous person. So those questions on personality tests, there's really no wrong or right personality. The way God created you, just be consistent. So what I usually do in those tests is, once I, like question number one, I write, I mean, the crux of the question so that I can remember what I choose. So I'm an extrovert. I will just write it down in a paper. Then I wrote agree. Any question that relates to that again, I have to go back. Oh, this is what I chose here. This is what I chose here. Another question can try to see, are you an empathetic person? In the office, if your colleague is sick, um will you do your colleague's work because they are sick, or you wait for the person to come back? Because you said you're an empathetic person, they expect you to do your colleague's work. Or they'll ask you, if you see a sick person, if you see a beggar on the road, will you give the beggar money? Because you said you are empathetic, you have to write, oh yes, I'm going to give beggar money, that kind of thing. So a lot of people don't know how to answer those personality questions because they are just winging it. But no, you have to be detailed about it. You have to write down what they are asking you. One of the tests I did, that I did a personality test, they asked me, like, do you like shapes? Do you like all this Rubik's Cube shapes thing? I'm really bad at it. I don't know how to do it. And I answered there, no, I'm not imaginative. I don't know how to do Rubik's Cube. I'm not imaginative. I'm not artistic. They ask questions regarding artistic things. I'm not artistic. I don't have an imaginative mind and this and that and all of that. And then after that personality test, I had a practical session with a one-on-one psychologist where he gave me like a Rubik's Cube to do. And I didn't do it well. But of course, I'd written in my test already that I'm not good at it, anyways. So you get, and I still passed that interview because they know that that's not your strength, but you know your strengths. You're able to identify your strengths and you're able to identify your weakness. You are self aware, you know who you are, you know. So the purpose of that test might not just be, oh, we want someone who is a brainiac who can do Rubik's Cube in 10 seconds. It might just be, we want someone who is aware of their strengths and their weaknesses and knows their limitations and is very clear on who they are. You understand? So these are some of the mistakes that we little mistakes that we make when applying for when doing like aptitude tests, psychometric tests, and all of that. So even when it comes to psychometric tests, some companies go as far as after you've passed like aptitude test, the basic aptitude test, they have some other psychometric tests. Some company has asked me to write an essay before after passing two tests. I had another interview, and in that interview, I had to write an essay. But I'm not good at writing. So what I did, I went online, I searched for people who have done that. I went on LinkedIn, I searched for people who are already in that company or who, did an interview with that company. I asked around, oh, do you know anyone who has interviewed with this company before? Maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And I was able to get in touch with one person. And the lady told me exactly what the essay was. The essay they told her to write, what it was on. The essay was on, can you hear me, please? Please confirm you can hear me. Is my internet bad?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
I can hear.
So thank you. So the essay was on write an experience. For instance, you're stuck on an island with three other people. How are you going to survive on the island until someone comes to rescue you? Okay, so the lady had told me what her essay was about. So with that, she gave me that, sorry to say, cheat code. So before going in, I have an idea of what I'm going to write in an essay. And lo and behold, I went into the company. I had the same essay, word for word. What are you going to do if you're stuck on an island with a few people? What are you going to do? Of course, when she gave me that tip before, I went online, I did a research. So writing that essay was very easy for me. I knew exactly what I was going to do in that situation. So that's why I say you don't walk into an interview, you don't walk into a test, you don't walk into it blindsided, not knowing what to do. Any tests that you are doing for any company, I can assure you, you are not the first person doing that test. You're not the first person doing that interview. Somebody has done it before you, especially if it's a popular company where they have to do series of tests, interviews before you get the job. You should not, go into those recruitment exercises blindsided. You shouldn't. Try as much as possible, use LinkedIn to network, or some of these WhatsApp groups or Nairaland to network and get people who have done that thing that you're trying to do before. Let them lead you, let them guide you in the way, of doing that. One of these job tests that I did, I told you there was a job I applied for, and there were 5 stages of it was a 5 stage interview plus test process. I did 2 tests and I did 3 interviews. Eventually I did not get the job, but I got to the final interview phase. After passing the test and passing the previous 2 interviews, they only picked one person. That was the job I was saying that they interviewed. They started with 3,000 people and they picked only one person. So I made it to the top 5, but I didn't get the job. Right now, I was writing some of my experiences on Nairaland, and then just to help people. There was a guy who 1 year after I didn't get that job, a year after, in fact, I've forgotten about it. The guy was applying to that same company, but for a different role. He was applying for an engineering role. I was applying for a commercial role in that company. So he reached out to me and saying that he saw my what I wrote on link on Nairaland, and he just wanted to find out if I could give him some tips. He's at the third stage right now. He has passed the first 2 interviews. He's at the third stage. What did they tell me to do at the third stage? So I gave him a lowdown of everything I was asked to do at the third stage of the interview and the fourth stage of the interview, as I remembered it. He went into that third and fourth stage interview. Everything I told him, that was the exact same question they asked him. So he passed it very easily. Now, at the fifth stage is the final interview is a technical interview when they will ask you questions on your role, on, as if you're working in the role already. They want to see, they will ask you some academic questions and all of that. Of course, I couldn't help him because we applied to different roles, but everything before that we had in common. And the guy got the job. It's a very good, well-paying job. And he was telling me that if not for me, he would have gone into those previous interviews blindsided and all of that. Not because he's not the good fit for the job. I mean, he has a master's degree, he finished with a first class, but nobody will see your master's degree and your first class, and you cannot wow the final interview panel where the managers are, the GMs are, the HRs are, when you're already failing at the first few stages of the aptitude test and the preliminary interviews and all of that. So I will stop here. I don't have anything else to add. So I don't know if anyone has questions or anything else. I hope I've been able to share some useful information that you can use. Sorry for talking too much, guys.
No, that was thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dami. Like I have, what you said today about like self-awareness and answering like biometrics or psychometric tests is very important. Like that ability to be self-aware. Because in previous tests that I have written, like especially like those type of personality tests, I found out that I was trying to I will answer questions. Basically, there was no consistency. Now that you've explained it, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, to always be aware of the questions that you're answering. So, for example, some parametric tests are like some all of these personality tests, some of them are up to 20, some of them are up to 50. And you're like, they just keep asking questions, asking. I'm just like, what do you people want to really know? But there's like a technique in it. And I feel like this is really what a lot of people will miss. Do you understand? So recently we're talking about career mapping on Career Cafe, right? And we're always talking about SWOT, having like a SWOT analysis. So if you know you're an extrovert, be grateful that you're an extrovert. Don't try to want to be an introvert. That's the point. If you know, and I always try to say that it's important to do research on the role that you're applying for and see how well it matches with your personality, so that once you are answering these questions, you are not at a tug of war, a toggle, or a struggle. Do you understand? These tricks that Dami has mentioned, like tricks that you've mentioned, they're like just things that kind of expand my mind and say, oh, really? Like the career mapping thing actually makes sense. Because if I know my strengths and I know my weakness, there's no reason why I should say that I don't want to join the people in the office to plan the party. I can't say that I'm reserved, but then in another place, I'm saying that um I would rather go, I would rather follow the team to do something. I'd rather be part, I'm a team builder, essentially. Do you get? So there
Yeah.
are certain personalities, and I really feel like it's really about being self-aware. You have to like be very intentional about your
Yeah.
career so that you can be aware of these tricks and know how to like customize. Because like job application has like, that's why I really appreciate the fact that you said that once you're really searching for jobs, you should not be alone. You should be like in communities, because
Yeah.
you then get to see what other people are doing. You're not just in your own zone doing what
Yeah.
you think is best. Even people that have been applying for that same role over and over again, they're even in the same places where other people are trying to get for jobs, like Naira Land, all of these things, like the insights that you've poured here today. I really pity all those people that are not here, Sha. So myself, okay. I really pity all those people that were not here, but like it was really amazing. I have some questions here from people here. If you have any questions, please you can put in the chat box so that we can attend to them. Does anybody have any question? Would you like to speak up? Hi, Angela. Hi, Dabrechi. Hi, Chioma. Hi, Favor. Hi, Amaka. Would you guys like to ask any specific question pertaining to like job aptitude test before we take other career mapping questions? Are we shy? Okay. Anyways, if you have any questions, you can just drop them in the comment box. So someone asked, how to go about being a safety officer in the oil and gas industry. So that's what the person asked. Dami, can you help us here? Because I have no idea about being a
Okay.
safety officer.
All right. So if you are coming in for so the way recruitment works in the energy industry is either from a graduate trainee perspective or maybe mid career and then at the end of the day like senior role. So, if you are a graduate trainee or you just came out of school, you have 0 to 3 years experience, you would usually apply for a graduate training role. Now, those roles are very generic. If you're applying to be a safety officer, um, they don't expect you to have a lot of experience being a safety officer. They just expect you to have um, the general
Knowledge.
knowledge. So if you're writing an aptitude test, you will still write aptitude test like every other person. Okay. If you're going to write a discipline specific test, of course you need to know some things about HSC. You need to read some books, know some things, or if you have worked as an HSC officer, maybe in your internship years, or you're still in a place where you have few years of experience as a safety officer, most times your test question will be around practical work experience. But one thing I have seen around that is not that a lot of people try to peddle, when you're doing safety work, there are a lot of certifications that come with safety. There's NEBOSH, there is HSC, different levels, there is ISO certification and all that. You don't need to do, as an early career person, you don't need to do all of those certifications. Is not part of what you need to get the job. Nobody is looking at if you have, oh, NEBOSH, you have ISO this, you have that, and some of these certifications are really expensive. Some run into hundreds of thousands of naira, some run into millions. So some people feel like the reason why they're not getting a graduate job as a safety officer is because they don't have these big certifications. No, No company expects you to have that. Every company is going to train you to have that certification. They just want they just want you to have the basic knowledge that you can do in the test. And then when you come at the interview, you go around, ask what questions do they ask HR people when you're going into a test, when you're going into an interview. So I'm not an HR professional, so I can't tell you the direct questions that they ask HR people, sorry, safety people, HSC people, but you should have a community of HSC guys that, oh, this is what they asked us at the HSC interview when I went for this company, when I went for that company. So with that mindset, prepare yourself with that mindset, but don't put yourself under the pressure of, I need to get this certification. It's 500,000. This one is 700,000. It's when you're like a mid-career, you've spent 7 years, 5 to 7 years, 10 years. You're looking for a mid-career to a senior level role, that those certifications will give you an edge. You understand? But when you are just starting, nobody expects you to have those big certifications.
Thank you so much, Dami. Thank you for that clarification. I think it makes a lot of sense. Someone also sent in like, um, yes, of course, the recording will be uploaded. Someone said professional courses for HR to help build your portfolio. I want to ask, how many years of HR experience do you have? Um, like Dami said, like the advice she gave regarding like certifications can also be used also in, about certifications in like safety as an engineer in the oil and gas. It's also the same thing for other industries as well. No company is expecting you to have certifications. No company is expecting you to have certifications. So you have to like release yourself from that pressure. However, if you want some certifications in HR, I ask you to go to do the CIPM. So the CIPM is the basic one, the basic, and it has like levels. So you start from like the basic one to like the professional. So you can take that. It is registered here in Nigeria. So that's the Chartered Institute of Personal Management. So you can take that. Another certification is the CIPD, right? It's international, it's courses, and I think there was like a merge with CIPM and CIPD recently. So you can also explore that. There's SHRM, that's more of an American and international you know, certification for HR. There's HBRP, there's GBHRP, Global Human Resource Professional. So I'm going to just ask you to Google it. Like there are lots of certifications. There's also YouTube, so you can get. However, I'm going to send you a couple of them, so you just have it to record in the goodie bag for April. Yeah, so that's that for certification. So most of the questions that I hear are mostly surrounding SWOT analysis, career mapping and interest, and long-term career goal. But since Dami is here answering our questions, Dami, I'd like to ask you, how can someone navigate a career path if they are confused?
Hmm. All right. If you are confused, so a lot of people just start with it's just few people that are lucky to start with a job that they enjoy, that is their passion. The way the country is, you whatever you see, you grab it and start with it. And the mistake a lot of people make is that when you start somewhere, you just see yourself growing in that role, and every other thing is just in that role. So I'll give you an example of myself. In the energy industry, I started as a project engineer, surface facilities project engineer, and I worked there for about 4 or 5 years. Um, it's a good role. I mean, it's an engineering role. It exposes you to a lot, but personally, it's not where I want to be for my career. I did not really enjoy the work. It's a good thing that, anyone who gets into that career space, you have a lot of prospects and all of that. But I didn't want that for myself. I had other goals based on what I enjoy. So I try to look for what I enjoy. I did engineering, but I do not particularly, love engineering. So I'm looking for maybe roles in the commercial and business, sector angle of the energy industry. And but the thing is that once you've worked, for instance, you've worked as an engineer so long that you get to a point where um, if someone is now if there's a job opening for a commercial role, you don't have the experience to go there. You don't have the academic qualification to go there. So you're kind of stuck with your engineering. If you want to go to another company, the only thing you have is your engineering experience, which you can use to go to another company. That's why they want you, because you have the experience. And the further you go in your career, it's no longer about your degrees. Your degrees, your first class, your second class only helps you to, it's just a criteria on the CV that will just help for screening. Once you start the work, nobody cares if you have a first class or a 2-1 or a 2-2. So your education is in, like, just put your education aside. What now matters in the job, like labor market, when you have a job, is your experience and what you have done. So if you're like one of those people who you started doing a job just because that was what was available, but that's not really your heart desire, I'll say the best way, some of the best ways to move is certifications or get education in that thing that you want to do. So maybe you want to go into the commercial aspect and you're an engineer. Why not get an education in the commercial aspect or get some certifications in the commercial aspect? I have a friend who studied petroleum engineering and then started out as a petroleum engineer. But right now, she is a commercial advisor in the oil and gas industry. What did she do? She got some certifications. She started doing ACCA as an engineer. She knew what she wanted, so she had to, even work while working as an engineer, started looking at ACCA and all of that. She, in her engineering role, she highlighted when positioning herself for a job. She highlighted all of the commercial things that she has done, even in that engineering role. You put your CV, you write your CV in such a way that it is tailored to the role that you are looking for. Okay, so if you're just trying to like career pivot and all of that, and you should always have a plan. You should always have a plan where you want to be in the next few years. And what does it take to get you there? Is it an education? So for someone like me, I got a job immediately I came out of school, so I didn't have the opportunity to do a master's. But looking at myself, if I want to get to the next level in my career, I want to do a master's in this specific area where I see myself in the future. So I had to go and enroll for a part-time master's where I'm schooling and I'm also working. Okay, and then I need to look at myself. What certifications can I get to help me to get to where I'm going for? So that if I'm positioning myself for a job, oh, these are the certifications that they need for the person who is coming in for this job. I'm positioning myself rightly. So if I'm going for a job, even if I don't, if they are looking for someone that has 8 years experience in a commercial role, for instance, with a master's degree in economics. I don't have 8 years of experience, but I have a master's degree. I have this certification. Even in my engineering role, I've done some of these things. I have 10 years of experience in engineering. It's easy for me to pivot. Say like career mapping and all of that. Don't leave your career. Please, can you hear me? Am I breaking up? Am I breaking up? Let me know.
Oh my God, what's going on? Why is everything frozen? What the hell?
Oh, someone is calling. Please let me know if you
Hello?
can hear me.
I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. So when it comes to career, don't put your career to chance at all. Look for the next best thing. For me, what I try to do is every year I have a plan. So, and I started taking this very seriously about 3 to 4 years ago, where I felt stuck in my career. I had a good job, I had a good pay, but I wasn't finding fulfillment. I wasn't happy. So I needed to start doing things differently. So what I started doing is I put out a plan. 1 year, every year I want to get a certification that takes me closer to my dream, where I want to be. Okay, 3 years ago I did a PMP, Project Management Professional, PMP certification. That will position you for a lot of opportunities. Even if I don't, till now I haven't used it, but for the fact that if I apply for some jobs and I put the fact that I have a PMP there, it speaks volumes for me. Okay. 2 years ago, I that was what I did 2 years ago. Sorry, last year I enrolled in a master's degree program, online master's degree program, because I want to get closer to my goal. After my master's degree is done, I have to think of other things. Are there other certifications I want to do? Or is there something I want to learn? Or what are you learning? Are you learning a new skill? Are you learning how to use some software or something? We are in the age of data analysis and all of that. There's hardly any job you do right now that you don't need some form of data analysis, some form of data visualization. I needed to go and learn. It's not using Python and all of those things. Can you learn how to use? Yeah, everybody uses Excel and all of that. What about Power BI? Those are some of the new, they are not new, but some of the um, more recent things that people are now using for basic work in the office. Okay, so those are some of the things that, when I add to my CV, or when people see that I can do this little thing, I can use Power BI, I can use this function in Excel, I can use that thing, and all of that. Just add little, little, little to yourself, and you will look back in the last 3 years, in the last 5 years, I have done so much, you understand, that you didn't even think that
Mm.
uh you could do. There's a question here: is supply chain management a job in demand in oil and gas industry, and what qualifications do you need? Yes, supply chain management is a big deal in the oil and gas industry. What qualifications do you need? I don't know. I have friends in supply chain management. I haven't spoken to them about some of the certifications, but I know that there are some supply chain certifications that you can do online. I'm also aware of some supply chain master's degree programs that you can do online, fully virtual, because I have friends in supply chain who are currently doing that. But yes, supply chain is a big deal in the oil and gas industry, and it's, if you want to take it as a career, go for it. And supply chain is one of those areas where anybody can. You don't have to be maybe engineering background, law background, commercial background. You can position yourself well for a supply chain role. Unlike maybe, of course, things like maybe if you're a petroleum engineer, you're a drilling engineer, of course, as a lawyer, there is no way you can position yourself to be a drilling engineer. But it's something that everybody from every background, if you have a HR background, yes, you can do supply chain. If you have a law background, you can do supply chain with any background. If you have the sciences and all of that. So supply chain is, yeah, it's one of the big deals in the oil and gas industry. And if you're looking at going for it, please, I would support you 100%. It's a very good place to be in the oil and gas industry if you want to position yourself in that area.
Amazing, amazing, guys. Our time is fast spent. Dami, thank you so much.
Thank you for
Thank you so
having me.
much for Thank you so much for all that you've shared with us today. Guys, the recording will be available for those who came in mid the meeting. It will be available to watch on our YouTube channel. And you have a goodie bag with resources that Dami has spoken to. For example, like Dragnet. I know that I have that study pack. So I'm going to share it with everyone who's interested in it. You can always access it. Um, I don't think there's anything left to say other than thank you for taking time out on Friday to be part of this. I hope you have a very fantastic weekend. God bless you, and I'll see you next month for the next career mapping session. All right,
Thank
guys.
you for having me, Eunice. Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
Danny. Thank you so much,
And
everyone.
bye,
Bye.
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.